everybody, this is Jim Skelly, and this is the 12th of our mini lectures for the current semester. It's the last of our mini lectures. The semester is just about over. I'm quite amazed that it's over. I'm sure you are all struggling to finish up all the work that you have to do. And if in that regard, let me just say that if you have any questions about the final essay or when you have to turn it in, etc., please don't hesitate to get in touch. I'm glad to help you sort it out. I hope it also gives you an opportunity to take what I like to say is cognitive control of all the material that we've been looking at, and that you feel that you have, in fact, connected the dots between a great many diverse issues, and that you have a much more coherent and contextual understanding of the problems that we face as a species on this planet. And I'm particularly interested in what kinds of things you might do in the future now that you know what you do. The other thing I must say, I'm pleased to see that I know it's difficult sometimes to pull these things together, but the Learning Circle projects, I've looked at a couple of the pieces of them that have been posted in the Learning Circle forums, and I must say it looks like people have done some significant work. So I'm delighted about that. The other thing to say to you is there's a good deal going on right now in the world, and it is relevant to exactly what we're talking about in theme number 14. Which is right towards the end of the course website. We're talking about what actions you can take in the future, and there are a couple of good pieces to take a look at. One is the talk by Bill McKibben. Bill McKibben is probably the best-known American environmental activist, very thoughtful guy. And he's talking about what kind of citizen action you can take to make the world a somewhat better place. The other sort of lecture that we have, video lecture we have, is one that students always seem to enjoy. And I must say I highly recommend listening to Yvan Chouinard, who's also, he's a storyteller. Chouinard is the founder of a clothing company called Patagonia. And some of you may know their clothing. It's rather high-end outdoor clothing is how they've gotten started, but it's considered very trendy. But it's very high-quality stuff. And Chouinard talks about how they created this company. He also talks a bit about his management book, which is called Let My People Go Surfing. Apparently, if you work for Patagonia and you're a surfer because they're in Santa Barbara, if the waves are up, you can just leave your workplace and go surfing. So, and he's built that into the way employee management relations, if you will. He says, you can't plan when the surf is going to be up, when the surfing is going to be good. You just have to do it spontaneously. And he's a very unusual man, I must say. Not least because one of the things he talks a lot about is the fact that they decided they didn't want their company to grow. So he has a kind of different economic model. And he's also taught me a few things, I have to say, not least of which I'm a big fan of natural fabrics, right? So I would wear clothing that is basically made out of cotton. But he says that cotton, and he's got lots of data to back this up, cotton is produced in such a way that the environmental consequences are really quite awful. And what he has started to do now is to produce more and more clothing from recycled materials, synthetic fibers, plastic, etc. Now, you might want to listen to him, and he's not, Patagonia also does a great many things for the environment. They've got all sorts of projects that they support. Sounds like a pretty good company, and it's one of the reasons why I don't think capitalism in and of itself is necessarily a problem. Perhaps it's the big corporate structures that are really the problem. The other thing, there's a couple of other things on the website under theme 14. One is about the Earth Charter. I'd urge you to take a look at this, and you can endorse the Earth Charter, in which you say, I, the undersigned, embrace the spirit and aims of the document. We pledge to join the global partnership for a just, sustainable, and peaceful world, and to work for the realization of the values and principles of the Earth Charter. I think we're going to need one, given what's happening in Cancun, where the climate change talks are now occurring. So you might want to take a look at what's going on in Cancun. As you may have seen, WikiLeaks continues to dump a lot of diplomatic cables that they have come into the possession of. And WikiLeaks talks a fair bit about, the true feelings of countries like China, the United States, and Japan, etc., and how they really, they're not really interested in coming to the kind of climate accord that the world needs. So you might take a look at that. And one of the most worrying things, of course, is that Japan this past week has said that it's not going to support an extension of the current Kyoto Accord. So we may not have any legal framework for demanding cuts in carbon emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, from any of the major contributors, which would not be a very good thing, it seems to me. Another thing that you might take a look at, too, and I'll send you links to all of this, Jane Goodall, who talks about reasons for hope, is hosting a meeting along with David Attenborough in London tomorrow night on December 7th. And it's about a project they have called Hope for Apes. Now, Hope for Apes is interesting, not least because they are, as you understand, under threat. There's an article that Jane Goodall published on Friday in which she says that the rate at which species are disappearing from the earth is truly horrifying. And it's between 1,000 and 10,000 times higher than the natural rate of extinction. And she's talking, she's a great fan of apes, having lived with them. And she says that apes live primarily in tropical forests of Asia and Africa, as you probably know. And destruction of these forests is largely responsible for the fact that all species of great apes are now endangered. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the forests are being used for logging and mining, and the companies involved build roads into the forest that then allow for the commercial hunting of great apes and other animals for food. It's called bush meat. Delightful. We know our vegan friends won't like that. Another reason for hope, and the last theme we have is a kind of rhetorical question. How ought I to live on this planet? Well, you'll remember that the last two mini lectures I've talked a bit about Diane DiNapoli and the great penguin rescue, in which tens of thousands of penguins were rescued after an oil spill in southern Africa, off the coast of southern Africa, and the horror of rescuing these penguins and the horror for the penguins of what they went through. Oil is constantly, because we're so addicted to it, it's constantly being dumped in places that it shouldn't be. Many years ago, I was an officer on an oil tanker, and nobody thought anything about dumping oil. When you wanted to clean the tanks, you flushed them with seawater, and the oil just went into the sea. When I look back on it, I think to myself, how horrific this was. And this was the United States government tanker. So the question of how ought we to live, and Diane DiNapoli has offered to do a Skype conference call with our class here in Derry on Tuesday. And that's what we're going to ask her. What does she think? What should we be doing? If we're able to record it, I'll post it on the YouTube channel, and so that all of you can see it. I'll send you all a note. Wonderful person, Diane DiNapoli. We've had a couple of conversations recently and some email exchanges. A very dedicated person, and she is another person who gives me great hope. Now, It's the end of term, and I want to wish all of you well, not only for the coming holidays, but also for the future. And I want to make clear to you that once you've taken this class, we consider you to be part of our community. And we'll be in touch with you with newsletters, updates about the course, new institutions and students who are joining the course, etc. And you should know that once you've taken this class, you're always eligible to come back and take the most recent version of it. We'll do some modification of it for next semester over the holidays, and we'll be launching it again shortly after the beginning of the year. If any of you want to stay involved, please let me know. A number of students will be taking on the role, a number of new students will be taking on the role of teaching assistants who've been through the class this semester. And if you want to stay involved, you should let me know, okay? I do think this is terribly important. We're going to try and make this a big community and have other classes, etc. This coming semester, a number of institutions are formally taking on the course. 4 institutions, Regis University in Denver, Colorado will have a cohort of students. University of California in San Diego will have a cohort of students. And Elizabethtown College and Juniata College in Pennsylvania each have a cohort of students prepared to take the class next semester. So those of you who've been around and who want to stay around can, of course, join us in the future as well. So once again, I've really appreciated spending time with you this past semester. I want to wish you all the best for the future. And I hope you have great holidays. And I'll look forward to hearing from you sometime soon, I hope. All the best.